All right, my man. Um, Sweets. Yeah, we're just.
Finish this Lifetime movie, yeah? How'd
Oh
it go?
yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking, man. It was cool. We might have spoken about it since I finished. Um, I my last day I was sick. My last day of shooting, I was sick, which is like common on sets, I suppose. But it
Your
took a
whole
day
body
quit.
just shuts down after a while. It's like, fuck this.
Yeah, because a lot, and I was
Too
working at the
hard.
restaurant on in between days too and stuff. And go in there.
You're really
Uh,
living the lifestyle of an actor. This is like
that is,
classic, like
yeah,
this is the life.
set up. Yeah, grinding on my side to pay for my dream. I
As
know,
a waiter, as like
as a waiter, right?
very much the like this is what
Quintessential,
it
straight
takes.
out of Rent or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is something that I wasn't sure I was always gonna have when I was younger. I was like, oh, if I'm gonna be in show business, I'm sure I'm gonna be like an exception. Which sounds horrible to say, but I was like, I'm not gonna do the typical actor thing or whatever, work as a waiter. And lo and behold, I'm literally as cliche as it gets.
But
But
you're in it. That's what matters. You're
I,
doing
I am officially in it. I mean, I'm not skipping any of those steps, and I feel like it does provide valuable material that I'm able to put into stuff that we come up with. But uh, yeah, the last day, great. Had a lot of big scenes. The only thing is, on two of the scenes, on like my close-ups, I felt like I kind of spaced out in my shots, and that you only get like one take. I could have spoken up and said like, "Hey, can I take that again?" But I felt like we went too far, and I didn't ask for it. And afterwards, everyone kind of said, "Oh, it was great, it was great," and I was like,
and it's just you kicking yourself after you do the shot.
"Yeah," just like wondering, like, "Oh crap, that might have been
That
awkward."
doesn't leave you, does it? There's still a part of you that's like,
I don't, not as much in the classic way of like, oh, you're playing it over in your head over and over, which I was doing, but more just because I know people are going to see this. And like that one scene was like kind of my intro scene as my character. And I really hope it's not awkward as hell. But a, um,
so much of it
sometimes
comes down to the edit too. That's
it's the
something that like
edit.
a lot of actors, it's like when you see the edit, you're like, wow, like damn, I am good. And a lot of it just has to do with how they cut it together.
Sometimes you feel like you did great and it turns out awkward. And sometimes you felt awkward and it turns out great.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that was basically it, but it was good. Nonetheless, it was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think like it's a sign of a true artist if you have that like if you always feel, you're not going to be perfect with every experience. It's like for me, there's always that one shot for like every single short film I do, every feature during the day. There's always one shot that it's so like it does keep going over in my head because it's like, yo, like I know I could have done it better. But
Well, yeah,
if
go
you're
on.
yeah, but if you're doing that, then it just means like you do learn from every experience. And I think that it's a good sign if you do have those moments because it means that you always want to be challenging yourself, you always want to be getting better, and like your appetite for the craft and like what your potential is just further down the road than where you might necessarily be right now, and that'll just continue to pull you forward and get
Well,
better.
for sure. For sure. As a director and a writer, I could see that it lends itself to kind of having ideas all the time and being able to act on it. As an actor, that wasn't happening to me as much in the beginning. I wasn't getting these creative, free flowing ideas where I would be like able to try stuff and everything. Like you said, I do feel like it is a measurement of my level that I've gotten better, that like what does happen, for instance, on other days, like tangibly, I remember these moments was like I did the scene, and then after doing it like 5 times, you do get other ideas, and it hits you like the last time, you're like, oh, and you get to act on it. Like you'll have an idea to play a moment a certain way. And I even told the woman that plays my mom, I'm like, I wish I would have had that idea when it was on my close up In fact, I remember the thing actually. It was when we're being interrogated in the detective room, me and my mother, and they asked us a question. They asked me a question of like, did you do something? Like, were you there with him? And the last time, and it wasn't on me, I had the idea of like, oh, you know what would be interesting? What would happen in real life is if I like turn instead of just answering it no, flat out no, I kind of like look to my mom to be like, no, but also the thought is like the subtext is like, did you though? And like that just kind of felt
Right.
more layered and interesting and real and stuff. And I wish I had done it. There's no guarantee that would have been better. Maybe it is kind of cool that I was just like
Also
stern.
true. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's
like
rough, like, especially as an actor. For me, when I have control over the frame of every single take that we do. And it's like we do a different shot or whatever. And it's like, um, I can get something that I missed in the wide, in the close. Like when we keep pushing in, I'm like, I suddenly get an idea. I can capture that. And then we cut to that moment. And I'm like, okay, cool. We got coverage of that. So my bases are covered. But if the camera's not on you when you get that idea, it's something that I haven't thought about before. It's like that extra layer of complexity of making sure you get all the stuff you want.
I told my uncle that, and he's like, "That's how it always is." Everyone says that's how it always is, but at least it's a sign that I'm getting those. I'm on the offense. I'm getting that
Yeah.
creative flow in my
Yep.
head as I'm doing it. That's to me a big sign of that you're heading
Dude,
in the right
that's the
direction.
best fucking feeling as an actor. When you
Right.
start getting those impulses and feeling free enough and chill enough to just go on them, that bro, then you're just fucking playing. Like that's the best feeling in the world.
You get to act on it. The director doesn't get to act on it necessarily, but of course the director has that final say, and they get to literally call the shots until producers come into play, especially with big network stuff, and they get actual
Yep.
creative choices. But
Yeah. That's why you should always get final cut. Hard
yeah,
to when you're starting out.
that'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see. It is, unless you're doing like your own indie thing or whatever. I mean, my dad fortunately did on 7 Days to Vegas.
Thank God.
Thank God. How nuts is that? I told you that story about how, he had such disagreements with the director, and then he literally redid the entire movie on their own.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dude, to switch gears, I've been doing these shorts every week,
Yeah.
and the one that'll drop on Friday will be my 13th consecutively per week, which means we're past like the first 3 months, which is insane. I'm really proud of that.
Congrats.
Crazy what happened in this last one. It's like when you have that pressure of constantly releasing stuff, you just got to roll with the punches. And if things aren't working out one night, you just got to find a way to shoot something. And so the original idea was working with my sister. Since I'm home right now, I was working with my sister and my girlfriend to they were the two actresses. And there was a moment in this initial
You
idea
did it at home?
at home, bro. The
Your
last
sister,
like couple
yeah.
shorts have been at home, which have been great because I have access to these locations that I would normally not have access to.
You
So
mentioned that.
yeah,
Inspired by the locations, but do you have any crew or anything? No.
just me and a camcorder. That's it. And a
I'd be curious
flashlight.
how those turn out. I mean, I imagine it's a great exercise. It's forcing you to like adjust to everything.
It's just me. Yeah. And I
Adapt.
feel like also the thing about horror is like the thing I love about it is like found footage can be the scariest thing. You just have to know what to put in the frame. And it all comes down to that. I think it is the hardest exercise, and it does sharpen like that craft a lot better than if you have a full crew and it's kind of bloated. But
Yeah.
anyway, so the original concept, I didn't write the script, by the way. My producing partner did. His name's Ken. Initial idea, I go into, I'm following in the back of like a truck, and I see these two girls, sister and girlfriend. One goes off into a house. One is like, hey, I'll be right there. I have to go like pick up the booze or whatever. She drives along. I'm supposed to take out this chain and strangle her around the neck. She dies. I put her in a box, and then I drag the box to the lake and like drop it in the lake. That was
That's
the
cool.
initial idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool concept, right?
Yeah.
So we start doing it. Everyone's cool. It's all chill. The location that we had, it's like there are homes that are surrounding. Both my sister and girlfriend bailed last minute because they felt like very, and understandably too, man, because like situation of me like getting this like strangling one of them around the neck out in a public space where people can see, worried about like maybe I would get shot or like something, like shit could go down if people don't know the situation. So whole thing got scrapped. Don't have any actresses anymore. It's just me. And so because it's not me who wrote the script, usually I can just roll with the punches. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll just come with a new concept. I called the writer up. I was like, listen, like this is a situation. Let's come up with some kind of like POV thing that we can do. Bro, the final product for this, I just finished the render like tonight. It is way better than anything that we could have come up with beforehand. And I think it's so dope because like on my channel, we don't have like a POV from an antagonist kind of deal. Like that's what they do in Halloween with Michael Myers. It's like, I think it's a really dope technique. And yeah, we ended up just being the aftermath of me. Like I had a wig, like I put it in the box, like we pretended like a body was inside, and it looks really convincing. So it's just another lesson in like, got to roll with the punches. This is the situation, and just be flexible about it. And that was like straight up, bro. All I had was a flashlight, like a wig, a box, and a camcorder, but we knocked it out.
I really want to see it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, drops this Friday.
All right, bro. Countdown. Exactly.
By the time people see this, it'll be 2 months out, but we're gonna catch up one of these.
Oh, we're like caught up. No, we're caught up.
We got some to go. We got some to go.
You know, the one that dropped last week was like while you were out of town.
Yeah, we're a bit out of order, but we got some more.
We're out of order, which I don't mind.
Yeah. So yeah, that was me this week. Anything else you got going on? I know you finished a Lifetime movie. Have you been writing? You had that project with your dad. What's going on?
Dude, a lot's happening. Yeah, we're doing that with my dad. Main thing is Valley Mentality. Some great developments.
Please, what's going on?
Yeah, I'll dish. We did a photo shoot for it with our buddy who's a big creative director. He's actually Shawn Mendes's creative director.
Yep.
And so we shot with him on film. My partner Tanner, who's like an actor, but he's been sort of like a Hollywood socialite and big on Instagram since he was like super young, and kind of a model. He could be a model if he wanted to, but extraordinary. He's got a foot in fashion. He's a smart dude and everything, very creative. And so we shot with him, his girlfriend, who's also a great model, and we shot in the Valley. And this kid Connor is just like so smart, but afterwards he's like, I don't know if we got anything. Like it's just like so humble about it. We got the photos today, and they're lovely, like fantastic. Sick. Yeah, they're sick. And then also I have another photographer that's shooting the clothing in the studio, so that we have it for the website. And then is there anything else? I mean, basically we're like ready to launch the clothing. I've already sold like a couple hats to buddies that were from out of town. I didn't want to yet, but because we haven't officially launched, but sold them a couple. And anyway, we're very excited.
Can't wait, bro. It's really exciting. The official launch. You got to announce it when it comes.
Oh, we'll get that plug. That'll be 3 months out of order.
There you go.
Hit 3 months later.
It's exciting, bro. A development that I found this week that I wanted to share is, I've always like on this podcast, I've been like, I'm writing now, I'm not writing now. I've struggled with that. Like as a director, like, do you just focus on the writing, or do you just focus on the directing, or do you also write? And I'm writing again. And the reason why is I realize right now I'm working on the Fisherman feature, which is like, it's a spinoff of the Fisherman short film. I'm doing 6 pages a day, which like usually takes me a couple of hours. So each page is roughly like 20 minutes. And dude, when it comes to writing, I feel like as a director or even a writer or an actor, if you're consistently writing, I think that that gives you the best leverage against people that like in the industry basically. So like when you're thinking about like yourself as a creative and the power that you have, I
Mhm.
feel like because dude, I 100% believe that writing, the craft of writing is harder than anything else that you can do. I think it's harder than acting, definitely directing, like
Mhm.
anything in the industry, actually sitting down and like if you're truly consistently pumping out pages every day, I believe like if you have that in your back pocket and you're constantly writing scripts, that is the most amount of leverage that you can have as a creative. So like if you're, if you're going into a meeting, for example, and something doesn't work out, or if you're working on a project and it's not really working out as much as you'd like, and for example, like the whole Final Cut thing that we just talked about, like if like let's say I'm on a project where I don't get Final Cut,
Mhm.
I'm struggling with that. It's easy to feel like the project that you're in is like your whole world.
Yeah.
And if it's not going well, it's kind of feels like you start doubting yourself in the industry and all that shit. But if you're constantly writing product and you always have stuff in your back pocket, it's like that's always potential for like what you can be making in the future. And I think that's a
Mhm.
really strong thing to have in your corner. And so for me, it's like I've now made a commitment to myself where I'm like, I know like directors can be replaced any time of day, but I know if I'm constantly writing scripts, it's like if something doesn't work out, I'm going to have 5 scripts in my back
I
pocket where I'm
I
like,
totally agree.
yeah, dude, I can be like, yo, I can turn around and be like, yo, let me hit up this investor or this producer or as long as you have a really dope script, the more we climb up into this industry, the more potential we have of like, and the more impressive it is to be like, yo, this is what else I got.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
it's
how I
not
feel.
not easy. These guys how to write films for money.
Damn, bro, you just whipped that shit out.
I
You
know
got ready, bro.
because I literally keep it on my desk. Like it's so inspiring to me. By
Yeah.
Thomas Lennon and Robert Ben Garant. I don't know how you say his last name, but they're the guys that made Reno 911 and they do all these movies and they're also actors and they're incredible. But they try to make writing as fun as possible. Obviously, they're doing comedies, but they write a bunch of huge studio comedies. A lot of them that become after there's so many chefs in the kitchen, horrible. But they're always writing. They're always writing. And I mean, for what it's worth, I've been talking about my dad a lot lately, but he's always coming up with stuff too. Always coming up with stuff. And that's really the only guarantee you got.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly, dude. You can be on a project, the funding pulls through last minute. You're like, I'm fucked. No, you're not fucked if you've been writing every day. You have so many more projects that are ready to go. And I think the reason why that gives you so much leverage is because it's really hard to do. And that's why most people don't do it. It's hard as fuck, dude. Truly. Like, I think it's easy to talk about writing and talk about ideas and kind of mull things over and be like, yeah, that could be kind of cool. Like, I'm really guilty about just like telling my producer, like, yo, like, this is an idea that we could do. I'm way more guilty of that than
Totally.
of like finishing a script and being like, yo, here's a 90-page script. And that's the direction that I want to go now because it just puts you in a different level. Even people at the
Totally.
highest level that we admire, they're not doing this. So that's
Well,
it.
I think even for what it's worth, like the 3 ideas that my dad and I have talked about doing lately, that he kind of like forgets about in 2 seconds and we go on to something different. If I had like if we discussed that and then I went back and came up with like a 5-page outline or something, even
Yep.
quickly, with like a couple descriptions, a couple dialogue in each thing or whatever, he would probably jump at it a lot quicker, if you
Yeah.
have it so hard to turn down, because when you come up with that material too, then it gets the other person's wheels
Yes, dude.
turning, even if they don't like it. It's always valuable to write.
Dude, there are there are costume designers and there are like creature effects people who are just looking for a great script. It's like, I think everyone in Hollywood, dude, it always comes back to the script. I think that's so true what you're saying about like people will put their own spin or their own idea on it or whatever. And it does make it a concrete thing if you can finish something. Anyone can have an idea. And it's so easy to just have an idea, but it's so fucking hard to sit down and just crush it.
I was just listening to the Dana Carvey, David Spade podcast, Fly on the Wall. They had Adam Sandler on. Have you still not listened to this podcast at all yet?
No.
I think it's the best podcast in show business.
Better than Always Sunny.
Better now for sure. It's Always Sunny one for me now. Have you been listening to all the episodes?
Not lately.
Yeah, it's got its moments that are super fun and like I like them a lot, but this one's way better. They had Adam Sandler on this past week and really get into his whole Saturday Night Live background and like how he came up, and it's so fun to hear him kind of like shoot the shit with David Spade and then also someone who he like idolized, which is Dana Carvey. But he just, the long story of that is just to bring up that he talks about the Safdie brothers, which he always kind of bows down to now because he's getting so much credit for doing this dramatic stuff. So of course he's got to give credit to these guys who gave him a big chance with that movie that he just did. I always forget the title. But Spade's brother, I guess, was writing something with the Safdie brothers like 12 years ago. And they I guess they were throwing around the idea of that movie then. What's it called? Where Adam Sandler plays a like hustler. I actually
know
never
it's
saw
the
it.
one about the diamond. People are gonna be screaming at
they're always screaming in the movie.
No, I mean people are gonna be like pissed. The audience is not like, what the fuck? How do you not know? It's it's something about a diamond. I'll find it, but continue.
Something to do with diamonds. You're so right. He's like a diamond salesman. It's just I saw their other movie, Good Time.
Dude, Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Maybe Gem, but yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, so but yeah, they were trying to get their movie made 12 years ago, Uncut Gems. Now they're the biggest things in Hollywood.
Yeah. And you know what, dude? Because one of their things hit. They, I'm sure, have so many projects that they've already written
in the pipeline.
Exactly. And you just got to be fucking ready for that, dude. And I feel like I've finally gotten to the place, bro. It took me 8 scripts. I feel like I've finally gotten to the place where I'm now a confident screenwriter, where I know that if I put my mind to something, it's going to be this cohesive, streamlined, effective script. It takes a lot to get to that point. But and that's why I wanted to give it up, because it's like it takes so much fucking time and you're like, damn, like I'm, it's not even good. And like I've put so many hours into this thing. But dude, I think it is like the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah, I think something good comes from it, even when you can't see it. Faux show. Yeah, we're also developing the British show still. My writing partner has gone back on it and like rewritten a ton of stuff. And then he comes to me and I watch him like perform the whole thing and gets me thinking again, but we're at a funny place of that too. I don't know. It's not that exciting. You go through phases.
How do you feel about like on your end? You got so much shit going on. You've got, you got all your waiting stuff.
I do.
You got all your, you got like 3 projects that you're juggling. You've got obviously this clothing line. How do you feel in terms of fitting in your own stuff? Like, I know you're resonating with the stuff that I'm saying, but I'm just curious on your end, how are you even thinking about wrapping your mind around like dedicating yourself to pages, or do you just not think it's like a good time for that?
I'll tell you, I think that generally for me, writing down my comedy material is so important. And I was listening to their podcast again, and they just point out that like every time something funny happens, you got to write it down. I've been bad about that lately. A lot of times because in the moment too, especially if it's like from a group text that my friends are saying, I will like think like, oh, it's funny, but maybe just for that subjective audience. and I don't know if it'll translate, but you got to write it down because later when you look back at it, you'll get an idea for something from that. That's how it works, especially for comedy. And then obviously for serious stuff too, whether you see something in the newspaper or something, you write it down, and then maybe that'll inspire it. Horror, I imagine the same thing. You see a murder case or something, maybe that inspires it. But
Yeah.
so for me, yeah, I've just been slacking lately with that. And then as far as writing pages, I know at a certain point that is going to be my lifestyle. And I've gone through phases of that already.
Yeah,
and
it's always about, there are periods where you're like, yeah, like I'm fucking on it. And then just, life
I
gets in
know
the
I'll
way.
get back to it. I genuinely know I'll get back to it. It's just not
Yeah,
the case right now.
totally. Dude, I feel I consider myself like the naturally this is like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan says he's like the laziest like person in terms of like going to the gym, but he still does it. Like he's like the laziest
Right.
bodybuilder that there is because he doesn't ever want to do it. I'm like, bro, I'm so miserable when I'm sitting down to write. Like there are periods of it's not like throughout I hate it. That otherwise I wouldn't do it. Throughout when I'm actually in it, I start getting in the flow. Like when you're acting and you get in that flow of like having ideas and stuff. There are these periods where it's like pure bliss. But the only way that I can get to that point is by sitting my ass down and going through the shit. And that, bro, I hate that process. And I know everyone hates it. I'm not like, unique in that. But
Right.
bro, it's so miserable, but I fucking do it. And I've only been doing this, like I'm talking like I've been doing this forever. I've been doing this 6 pages a day thing for 3 days. I'm at 18 pages now, but I've kept at it every day, 3 days. And I'm going to I have the intention to carry it forward. But dude, just because you don't like doing it, it's like you still got grass down.
Honestly, I don't think it is much different. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like going in for work at my restaurant job, every single time you're just like, fuck. Literally every single time. My friends are always doing something. I go in, I'm always tired. People, it's just always takes to getting used to. Like literally, I looked to the other food runner yesterday and there's nothing to do, is slow. And he's just like, and he's trying to find stuff to do because you're like stressed because you can't look like you're doing nothing. And there's nothing to do. And he literally goes, he's like, this is miserable, man. He looks at me like he's genuinely dying on the inside. And I'm like, yeah, this fucking sucks. And then like the day before, I looked at the bartender or the bar back, and she's like hungover shit. And she's like, I think that's worse. I think that's worse. But it's just like pick your poison, like I don't know.
Pick your poison, pick your bucket of shit,
At least the fruits of our labor is like you get to see something before your eyes that you're, birthing, creating, potentially working with talented people and doing your dream. Like this other stuff, you make not much money, and there's really just shit, dude. You can go down the list.
Yeah. This, people make it look flawless. When you see a finished film, you're like, damn, like, wow, like they just put it together. Or if people see my channel, they might just be like, yo, like just throws this shit together. Like, it's so flawless. Bro, it is like even my the YouTube channel is probably 60% misery, but I do it because of the 40% that I love. And dude, having this final, I'm in a really good mood tonight because I have this finished rendered thing. But bro, there were so many stages, even just talking about this one short that was so miserable. But it's like, that's why most people don't do this shit. Most people don't write. Most people don't act and direct because the actual reality of doing it is you just got to push past that wall. And that takes discipline.
It does take discipline. Acting too, the same thing. Memorizing lines kind of sucks. It's a task. Anyway, that being said, though, have you been watching anything good lately?
You start. I know I have, but you start.
I've been watching something noteworthy, in my opinion. The new Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. Are you aware that this is out? Have you seen?
I'm not aware.
Marketing for it?
Nope.
Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's like a big thing now in this whole Star Wars universe, which I haven't really been a fan of lately. They're doing a big return to Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's him after the the one where Anakin Skywalker fully becomes Darth Vader. And funny enough, my opinion on Star Wars in general is like objectively flawed. I didn't like the ones that everyone thinks were so good, the originals. I don't like them. I think that the Luke Skywalker is annoying. I think humbly R.I.P. Carrie Fisher was annoying. I like her in other stuff, but I think Princess Leia was a little annoying. And then I thought Han Solo was pretty badass, the original one, Harrison Ford. Other than that, whatever. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, but I think the newer ones, the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and the third one, Revenge of the Sith, I think those were pretty epic. And those are objectively considered like the worst things ever. And I just think they're pretty badass. I think the villain in the first one, Darth Maul, was creepy.
Dude, I agree, because I wasn't a Star Wars kid either, but like
Okay.
the one movie that I really like kind of latched onto was that Darth Maul guy, and people
Dude,
hated that
it was
movie.
intense. They hate it. It was like Jar
Yeah,
Jar
yeah.
Binks a little bit, threw people off. I guess it was
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Beepa, beepa, beepa. And I guess I don't really blame him. That being said,
Dude, you gotta incorporate that somehow in your comedy, bro, in your
Trust me,
stand up.
he's like an easy one to do. I think a lot of people do. Nonetheless, this new show is formulaic. It's obvious. It's cliche. I was just talking to my buddy about it, but I think it's kind of fun. Ewan McGregor. It gets straight to the point. It's it's good popcorn fun. Anyway, that's my piece. I recommend it, kind of.
Good to know, bro.
Sure.
Good to know. The thing I watched was, and I'm gonna power through. We have like 2 minutes left of this free Zoom. But you ever seen Nonstop with Liam Neeson?
Of course.
What an epic fucking film.
Wait, no. I haven't seen Nonstop. I've heard of Nonstop, how dope it is.
Bro, what an absolutely legendary film.
Damn. Okay.
Bro, Liam Neeson on a plane.
Yes.
I am
It's
not
all
trying
you
to
need to say.
hijack this plane. I'm trying to save it.
Exactly.
What a legendary line. What a legendary guy. I don't care if Liam Neeson is on a plane, on a train.
Saving the world.
Saving the world.
Saving our hearts.
Bro, it's like that was one of the most fun films that I've seen lately. By the way, and something about that too, it's crazy, dude. From a directing standpoint, they did such a good job on an airplane set and making it interesting with all these camera moves. It was so intricate and so well planned beforehand. Like you can't improvise that shit the way that they shot it. And so that's a really good note for me in terms of like the prep that goes into it beforehand.
Yeah, I don't care what you're telling your story through. You got to make it compelling, different, authentic, heartfelt. And like you said, a lot of those commercial films that did really well don't take the artistry away from these guys that turned, you're right, a plane setting and made it cinematic and fun and like, in some capacity made you want to be there. Who directed that? Do you know?
Same guy who directed Unknown with Liam Neeson. No, I'm blanking on his name. It's this French director, but
interesting.
Yeah, we'll include that in the show notes.
Oh yeah. Lots of notes.
Mission Impossible trailer looks dope too.
Or Top Gun, you mean?
Mission Impossible.
There's a new